Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make these cute carved effect beds on your Cricut maker. The white bed is made from matte and craft board, and the brown bed is made from layers only of craft board. So the first thing you'll need to decide is whether you want the open carved effect like the brown bed, or you want the solid wood effect of the white bed. And the other thing which isn't obvious in this photo is that the side plinth rails of the beds come in different heights. The brown bed has the lower side plinth and the white bed has the higher side plinth. Here are the two plinths in black, which means matte board in our SVG files, and below them you can see an outline detail in red. This is an extra detail you can cut in craft board and layer over the larger of the plinths. It just adds a coordinating detail layer to match in with the head and footboard. Now, I didn't use this particular layer detail in my tutorial video, but I'm just showing you here how it's cut off the mat if you'd like to add this particular detail to your bed. If you've decided to do the open carved version of the bed, these are the pieces that you'll need, and I would suggest going for the lower of the side plinths. This means that the bed base the mattress sits on does not come up any higher than the lowest open piece of the footboard. And I used 3 layers of craft board. I think you could also use 4. Any more and I think it would look too chunky for the 12th scale. I videoed myself making the white solid framed bed, and the construction for the open carved brown wood effect bed is exactly the same. This is the solid piece of the headboard and the footboard. They're made from matte board, cut on the purple strong grip mat with the knife blade. Here are the 2 sizes of plinth, the taller and the slightly shorter ones. Also cut from matte board, as is the bed base. The carved effect layers are made from craft board. On the green mat with a fine point blade, I achieved the best results for this fine detail cutting not using the craft board setting. I used the cardstock intricate cut setting and made it cut twice, so when it finished the first round of cuts I pressed the Cricut button again and it cut over the same thing twice. You can see here I've just used a pearlized matte board so that you can see the difference between the carved effect layer and the matte board underneath. I decided to put the carving on both sides of the head and footboard. You could just do one, it's up to you. Now what you're seeing here is I'm covering my work area in a large piece of kind of a vinyl old tablecloth that I use. It's that white clean tablecloth, but an old one. And I use a permanent adhesive spray to glue on sort of the intricate layers of cardstock, where if you were trying to put glue into all those fine details it could get quite messy. So I just like to do a spray of adhesive, and I found that's the best way, but it's up to you however you'd like to glue them on. Always work in a well ventilated area. And because the spray will often blow craft board out of the way, I just use a bamboo skewer there to hold it down. Let it dry a little bit. And then simply place the carved layer over the matte board and line up all the edges. Do the same with the footboard. If you're making the open carved footboard and headboard, you would simply spray the layers of craft board and sandwich them together instead of using mat board. So once I'm happy that the edges are all lined up, I get a piece of Teflon sheet or greaseproof paper. This time I'm using Teflon, and I sandwich the head and footboard between it and press them under my big heavy granite slab that I've got. That's a worktop saver. If you've got a steel bench block or some heavy books, it just helps to really secure the fine details down onto the mat board. Again, if you're just using craft board layers, sandwich those together and press them too. So here I've got my magnetic gluing jig sheet with the Teflon sheet over the top to stop the glue sticking to it, and we get the mattress base and the two side plinths. Again, I used the taller ones on this white bed, and the side plinths fit up to and on the underneath of the mattress base. So on my gluing jig, I put the glue on the top edge of the plinth and then bring the mattress base up to it. I'm using Ailing's tacky glue as always. And then put the plinth down first and bring the mattress base up to it, making sure that the top and bottom edges of both pieces are flush. This is a heavy steel block I've got that gives me a nice vertical surface. You don't have to use this method. I like it because it holds the pieces in place while I do something else. And these are some magnets. And this just holds everything at right angles while the glue sets. Some people use Lego bricks. You could just hold it by hand. And it doesn't take long anyway for the glue to go off. So once it's dry, I'll remove the magnets. And just peel the two pieces off of the Teflon. Got a nice right angled edge, and I'll do the same for the other side. When the base piece is dried, we get our head and foot boards out from the press, and we simply just glue along the edges and we'll put that on to the headboard. The only thing you really need to pay attention to is that the bottom of the side plinth fits exactly to the bottom of the headboard. Remove any excess glue, and one of my side plinths wasn't quite at 45 degrees, so I'm just going to use some magnets to hold that out whilst the glue dries. Once that's dried, we simply turn it over and do the footboard in the same way. So once that's dried, that's the basic build done. If you were making it from layers of craft board for the open frame, all you need to do is sandwich all your side plinth rails together, your bed base rectangle together, press them and glue them in the same order that I've done here for the white mat board bed. So the next thing we need to think about is the mattress. Here I happen to have some polystyrene packaging which was exactly the width of the bed. You can use anything here. I just wanted the shape and the depth of a mattress. I wasn't worried about it being comfortable to sleep on. This is just my version. You could use layers of wadding, but because I'm going to cover this, it really doesn't matter what it looks like underneath. So I know my bed is 6 foot by 3 foot, so that was 6 inches by 3 inches. So I just cut a 6 foot piece of polystyrene. On this second bed I made, the wooden effect one, I cut the mattress slightly shorter than the 6 inches, and then that gave me some extra space to tuck the bed linen in. But I was just winging it at this point, never made a mattress before. Use your craft knife to cut through it. And then I just trimmed it a little bit more. The only downside with this material is those static bobbles that try and stick to everything. So once I've cleared those away, I've got this rather nice blue and white striped material. This is from the Dollhouse draper who are on Etsy. And I'm going to cover my mattress and make it look as if it was the bottom sheet. So there's several ways of doing the corners on something like this. I'm just roughly doing it here so I can work out how much material I need around the mattress. I'm not really a measuring person, as you can see. I think that looks good, that'll do. So here I've just cut it roughly to size. I do end up trimming some off either end too. You just need to make sure there's enough material to tuck on the underneath of the mattress all around and keep it nice and secure. And working with the stripy material was very easy because it showed when it was all lined up nice and square. So again, I'm just using tacky glue. Use whatever you've got to hand. Then I literally just pressed it on, and the glue seeps through the material a bit, so you wouldn't want to do this on a side that's going to show. You can use an iron to set the glue quicker. Here I'm using a teflon sheet to press the glue down so I didn't get the glue all over my fingers. And we do the same for the other side. It's just like wrapping a present, really. And then to do the ends, we just fold the corners in as neatly as possible. I iron that bit flat later. Put some glue on it and press it down. So while the ends are drying, I decide to crack on and make the duvet. This isn't really a tutorial because I do not know what I'm doing. I'm just showing you how I muddled through it, if you'd like to muddle through it too. So I ended up with a square of material that was approximately 6.5 inches square, and this was including a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, so that I would end up with a duvet that was 6 foot by 6 foot, or 6 inches by 6 inches in 12th scale. I was just checking the drape there with a spare piece of polystyrene, the same thickness as the mattress, and I'm going to use 2 different materials here so that they're kind of reversible. And I know that I want to sort of fold the top of the duvet back, so that's what I'm checking here, what it looks like colour-wise. Then all I need to do is cut the second material the same as the first. And then making sure that the right sides of the material are facing each other on the inside, we're going to sew a pocket really down either side of this square and across the bottom. So as you can see here, we've sewn 3 sides and left the top open. My scissors are there just to show you the top's open, and I've trimmed around the edges and cut across the corners diagonally so that we don't end up with too much bulk in the seams. Then I cut a piece of wadding so that it would fit inside the seams, and I cut a piece of tin foil doubled over, the same size as the wadding. I turned the whole thing inside out and pressed it so that the edges were nice and crisp. And then I completely made this bit up, but I folded the wadding and the foil over in half, made it easier to push it into the pocket down to the bottom, and then unfolded it whilst it was inside the pocket into the other corner, and just wiggled it about a bit so it was flush all the way down to the bottom and with either side. And then I turned the top edges over onto the inside and sewed them closed along the top, and then I hid that edge at the bottom of the bed. You can see here that I've already creased the top over to the depth that I wanted, and I gave that a quick iron. I then put the very bottom of the duvet, sort of at the bottom where the footboard meets the mattress base, and then pushed the mattress in place to secure the bottom of the duvet against the footboard. I secured the fold over at the top of the duvet with tiny little stitch underneath that made sure it held its shape and didn't stick up too much. Then I folded the sides down and saw where I wanted the crease, took the duvet off and ironed those creases actually with an iron, and then put the duvet back on the bed, and it held its shape really well. Folds at the bottom of the bed in the duvet were just creased with the foil by hand. At this point then I needed to make the pillow using the exact same process. These measurements were approximately 3.5 inches long by 2.25 inches wide, again allowing for a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way round. I trimmed off the seams and across the corners, turned it inside out, pressed it flat, and decided to fill it with rice. This makes it sit more naturally on the bed. I haven't got a clue if rice is the best thing to use or not, but it was the one thing I had to hand in the cupboard. So here we have the finished bed. I think the white colour makes it look quite contemporary but still cosy. So at this point I thought I'd finished with the bed linen, but my brain woke me up the next morning at 5 AM saying there's a piece of tartan that would look fab on the wooden effect bed frame. So now I had measurements, the second make was actually a lot quicker. I cut front and back pieces for both the duvet and the pillow, sewed the wrong sides together on 3 sides, turned them inside out and ironed them, filled the duvet with the wadding and foil and the pillow with the rice, and then hand stitched them closed along the top edge. I arranged it on the bed in a slightly different way, a slightly more relaxed look for this, so I just turned back one edge as if someone had got out of bed and left it like that. And the only thing to add here for the open carved bed in the photograph is that I used a super glue wash over both sides and all the edges, seal the layers and give them strength. And because super glue can give a bit of a shiny finish, I also painted this with a matte clear varnish. And I think the effect is really good considering it's just craft board. Again, if you wanted a chunkier look, you could just add more layers of craft board. So here's both beds together. You can see how flexible the files are and how easy it is to achieve several different looks. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And for details of the files, look in the description below. Have a great day and I'll see you soon.